Gabriel Jesus has to start against Manchester United on Sunday. But before we get into that, if you're new around here, please drop a thumbs up so this video can reach more wonderful gooners like your wonderful self. And also hit that sub button. We would love to have you in this amazing Gunners community. Let's get straight into it. Arsenal versus Inter Milan on Tuesday. Absolutely amazing performance itself. I thought Arsenal were immense. I'm not going to go too much into it. You obviously watched the game. You obviously watched the highlights. It was an amazing performance, in particular for one man, Bukayo Saka. Not Gabriel Jesus. Bukayo Saka was the standout from the game itself. He was back to his best. He had DeMarco and Bastoni in wits end. He just kept beating them. He either went to the byline or he cut inside. He was just an absolute nightmare. Just looked like the old Bukayo Saka. But all joking apart, even though it's not a joke, one man in particular had a really good showing, amazing performance for someone who's had to deal with a lot of tragedy recently in terms of injuries. Gabriel Jesus, fresh off a brace from Inter Milan, and I don't want anyone to take that with a pinch of salt. Inter Milan are the best team in Italy. They are Champions League finalists from last season. They are a solid team, arguably the second best defensive team in world football, only behind the mighty Arsenal themselves. And he had an absolute amazing performance. He dealt with the physicality so tremendously good. You know, a team like Inter are built on physicality. Acerbi's main quality is physicality. Bastoni, physicality and athleticism. And he just grabbed onto to both of them. You know, at one stage was holding off Acerbi and Bastoni and still managed to win the ball. There was a part in the second half where he just clipped it over Bastoni and carried on running down the line. Absolutely amazing performance. Just Gabriel Jesus back to his best chaotic self. And that is the reason he needs to start at the Emirates against Manchester United on Sunday and not Victor Gyökeres. Because let's think of what Arsenal are going to come up against. You know, they call it Man United DNA. Let's talk about Man United DNA for a while. It's just a fancy word for saying, or fancy couple of words for saying, the team's going to sit 11 men behind the ball and then counter with pace. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer built his Manchester United career playing that style of football. Michael Carrick has seen tremendous success, albeit in one game against Man City recently. And they will do the exact same thing at the Emirates on Sunday because any manager and any half decent football team with half a brain cell realizes and knows that you cannot play football against Arsenal. You cannot go man for man against Arsenal. You cannot try to play better football against Arsenal because they will beat you and they will beat you easily. We saw that against Inter Milan. We saw that against Bayern Munich. We saw that against Atletico Madrid. And these are no slouches. We even saw it against Aston Villa in the second half at the Emirates. These are amazing teams. You know, Bayern Munich arguably one of the best teams, if not the best teams in world football, depending who you're asking. Obviously, if you ask an Arsenal team, there's a reason we top of the Champions League as well. Having said that, United will come and play the exact same football that we're accustomed to for any team that comes and plays against Arsenal, whether that be home or away. They'll play exact style of football that we witnessed against Nottingham Forest. And someone who really struggles with that is someone like Victor Gyökeres, as well as Martinelli. These are players who require space. Their strengths are attacking space. And if there's no space, you might as well not play them, honestly. You know, you're just waiting for pundits to point fingers at them. And I don't think it's another game where Victor Gyökeres deserves the finger pointing. I think you get Jesus in there who will give Man United a world of trouble. They won't know who's going to pick him up. They won't know who to send with him when he drops deep, when he swaps with the left wing, when he swaps with Odegaard. It's just a great headache to have. And I just don't think it's the game for Victor Gyökeres. It's the games he struggled in. We saw against Nottingham Forest. We saw against Liverpool in the first half as well. When teams sit back, there's just no space for someone like Victor Gyökeres, and it's not playing to his strengths. And I actually think his strength was against Inter Milan was coming on against a knackered defense, a tired defense, and bullying them, bulldozing them, because that's exactly what he did for his goal. Even before the goal, you know, there's a couple of great touches on the halfway line where he backed into a defender, and it was just him versus one defender because they were knackered. they weren't able to get a lot of bodies around him, and he won a foul. He had a good couple of touches where he laid the ball off. So I think it will suit someone like Victor Gyökeres coming on a little bit later against a game like Manchester United, because let's be honest, like I just said, there is just no way in footballing ability that they can go head to head against Arsenal. It's impossible. Arsenal are miles better than Manchester United, not only as a team in terms of quality, but man for man as well. Arguably, Bruno Fernandes, is maybe the one pick of the bunch that you could say is at the level of this Arsenal team. But other than that, there's just no one barely even close to getting to this Arsenal team. You look at the options that Arsenal leave on the bench, and even those options are better than the starting 11 of Manchester United. So there's just no way Carrick rocks up to Arsenal to try and dominate the game. So don't be flabbergasted. Don't be astonished when you see most of the play on Sunday in the final third of Manchester United. Don't be astonished or flabbergasted when you see Arsenal having 60, 70% possession of the ball. It's the only way they can try and get a result. And that's playing counter-attacking football, 11 men behind the ball, and trying to keep it as tight as possible for as long as possible and trying to make something on the counter. So definitely, Gabriel Jesus, I think, will give players like Maguire, Martinez, a big headache because these are players who enjoy the physical battle. So they will enjoy playing against someone like Victor Gyökeres, someone who's just going to occupy the space with them. Where someone like Gabriel Jesus is dropping deep, who goes with him then? Do you leave him on for the midfield because then you've got Declan Rice coming into the midfield, breaking from midfield. You've got Jurrien Timber cutting in. So it just adds a layer of uncertainty for a team where when you're playing that type of football, you need concentration. You need a lot of concentration, a lot of mental awareness. And if you're having someone who's causing a lot of chaos, not only in the box, but in the midfield itself, getting other players to pick up more space, like Martin Odegaard, like Bukayo Saka, like Gabriel Martinelli or Leandro Trossard, who I think will start over Martinelli this weekend because, yeah, like I said, if there's no space, there's no point in playing players like Gyökeres and Martinelli. We saw that against Nottingham Forest. I think Arteta got his first 11 horribly, horribly wrong in that game itself. Picking Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Martinelli when we all knew there wouldn't be space for them, just suited someone more like Leandro Trossard, who I think will definitely be a starter on Sunday. And I honestly don't see how Arsenal don't get the 3 points from that. I think you'd just be disappointed with anything but 3 points because this is a poor Manchester United team. Do not let last weekend's result change your judgment. The same manager, the same group of players drew with Burnley just a couple of weeks ago. So, I would be really disappointed. I think Arsenal have to make a fast start like they did against Inter Milan, really press Man United, go man for man, show them the athletic qualities of the team, show them the physicality of the team, push them back, quick passes, not the slow stationary football. And I understand it's not the team, it's the manager. That's what he wants. He wants control. He doesn't want chaos. And that's also why we'll see Odegaard over Eze, who I thought was particularly, good against Inter Milan. If anything, for the first goal, it's down to him. He nicks the ball away, turns away from his man, and plays a good direct pass into Gabriel Jesus. Something that Odegaard's lacked these last couple of weeks. Having said that as well, at Nottingham Forest, Odegaard wasn't particularly Odegaard, but he was playing with Onu Madueke, someone who he hasn't formed a relationship with. And we know how good Odegaard is when Saka's on the right-hand side. We know how good Saka is when Odegaard's that right-sided number 8. So it's not particularly down to Odegaard, but, if if you want to see creative football, I would love to see, Trossard, Jesus, and Eze in the team because they just all float and they all just swap positions so well. There might be times where you might see Trossard at that left 8 position, Jesus on the left wing position, and as a false 9. I think that would totally flabbergast Man United, would confuse the hell out of them at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised, if Gyökeres started anyway, because when they are both fit, Arteta tends to go for Gyökeres. But with that showing against Inter Milan, I think you have to select Gabriel Jesus. It's not about merit, and it's not about trying to help someone at this point. It's about winning it's about winning a league title. And if you're going to win a league title, these are the games you need to win. And besides the Aston Villa result, it's been really disappointing in the Premier League for Arsenal against the big teams. We've seen Man City come to Arsenal and park the bus, and us only getting a point. We've seen Liverpool do it in the first half a couple of weeks ago, and then absolutely dismantling Arsenal's midfield in the second half, which was really surprising. I thought Liverpool did really, really well. But I do not expect a performance like that from Arsenal on Sunday. I think they'll be rearing to go. I think they know the fans are going to be on their back of it if they do not get a positive result, which adds a little bit of unwanted pressure. But I think that pressure needs to be there because the team shouldn't get complacent. Um, but yeah, I think in terms of predicted 11, we can go into that right now. I think David Raya obviously keeps his place. Best keeper in the league by a mile. I know some people argue Donnarumma, but just in all round aspects of goalkeeping qualities, there's just nothing David Raya, lacks. And yeah, obviously David Raya, I'm not even going into more of that. David Raya in the at goalkeeper, and then we've got left back. I think Julian Timber will come back over Miles Lewis-Skelly, who I thought did have a good game against Inter Milan, but really struggled, when he was facing his own goal, running back to his own goal. A lot of Inter's attacks came down his side, and it just showed his lack of pace and lack of awareness. And not only to point out Miles Lewis-Skelly, that midfield really struggled at times against Inter Milan because Declan Rice wasn't in there. But having said that, Arsenal winning a game 3-1 without your best player for the season in Declan Rice just shows you the quality of this team. So yeah, I think Timber comes back. The two centre backs choose themselves. Best centre back partnership in world football. Saliba and Gabriel. Right back, obviously you see Ben White there, and then the midfield trio chooses themselves in Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard. And then up front, this is more personal than it is a given. And I would go Bukayo Saka, Leandro Trossard, and Gabriel Jesus. And then, when the defense tires, it's time for people like Madueke, Victor Gyökeres, Martinelli, a lot of pace to burn coming on, and really, really having some joy against a knackered defense, because they will be knackered by the 60th, 70th minute if they're going to be playing, the type of football they play by sitting behind the ball. So yeah, that's what I hope to see. That's what I want to see, and hopefully we get 3 points. It'll be a massive mental boost, not only to Arsenal but a a little bit of a dagger into Man City's side. When if they see Arsenal easily blow away this United team that, let's be honest, blew away that. It just gives more belief to Arsenal and less belief to Man City, which is something we need now going forward. So yeah, looking forward to it, and like I said, hoping for a positive result. But all we can do is wait, and we are excitedly waiting. So yeah, hope to see you guys soon, and that's all for now. Peace.